Back and forth action, big hits, artistry, roar of the crowd. They all lead to one thing, the National Hockey League. The National Hockey League started small, simple, then it got into a little more stable era. Then they furthered its success with expansion. There's kind of three main eras of the NHL. The birth era, the original six era, and the expansion era. The NHL started in 1917 in Montreal, Quebec, with 4 teams, 2 from Montreal, a team from Quebec, and a team from Ottawa. These 4 teams disbanded from a previous hockey league, the National Hockey Association. And they named their first president, was named Frank Calder, and he served until 1943. And today, the Calder Memorial Trophy is named after him, which is given to the top rookie in the league. These teams played other professional leagues for the Stanley Cup. They did this until 1926. This was the last year that a team not from the NHL won the Stanley Cup. Since then, a team from the NHL has won. In 1924, the Boston Bruins were added to the National Hockey League. Before then, it was all 4 Canadian teams. Then in 1925, New York and Pittsburgh were added, and a little bit later, Chicago and Detroit were added. Then in 1927, Toronto Maple Leafs were added, solidifying or taking the place of Toronto. This league went well until it hit the Great Depression and World War II. This led to the downfall of a few teams, starting with the Philadelphia Quakers in 1930. In 1934, the St. Louis Eagles disbanded, and in 1942, the New York Americans disbanded, leaving the NHL with 6 teams. A team from Chicago Blackhawks, the Detroit Red Wings, the Toronto Maple Leafs, Boston Bruins, the Montreal Canadiens, the New York Rangers. This league lasted for 25 years and is a pretty solid part of the NHL, solidified it. This went on until 1967. In 1967, the NHL finally felt the need to expand, partially due to the pressure they were facing from the Western Hockey League, a team that was trying to get the NHL to compete for the Stanley Cup, and partially because the United States wanted to have a TV telecast of the National Hockey League. So in 1967, the NHL doubled the size of its league, adding 6 teams, all from the United States. A team from Minnesota, Los Angeles, Philadelphia, Pittsburgh, California, and St. Louis. In 1970, the Vancouver Canucks and the Buffalo Sabres were also added, due to the pressure faced from people in Canada being upset about not having any teams involved in the previous expansion. In 1974, Washington, Atlanta, New York, and Kansas City also got teams added to the National Hockey League, bringing the total 18 teams. In 1971, the Western Hockey Association and the United National Hockey League became involved in a big battle. The Western Hockey Association took 67 players from the National Hockey League, partially because they were paying more money. So for 7 years, the National Hockey League and the Western Hockey Association battled in court until they came to a conclusion. It came to the disbanding of the Western Hockey Association, but in return, the NHL had to add 4 teams: the Winnipeg Jets, Hartford Whalers, Edmonton Oilers, and the Quebec Nordiques. A big part of these teams getting added was that it brought in Wayne Gretzky, one of perhaps the greatest player of the game. started on the Edmonton Oilers, but his biggest influence in hockey, and some say, is when he got traded to the Los Angeles Kings. It jump-started the desire of people to play hockey, and they got interested in the National Hockey League in the United States because of how great a player Wayne Gretzky was. This led also to another expansion. In the 1990s, teams from San Jose, Tampa Bay, Ottawa, Anaheim, Florida, Nashville, and Atlanta all added teams. Then in 2000, Minnesota Wild and the Columbus Blue Jackets also added teams. All in all, today there's 30 NHL teams, with talks of maybe 2 more expanding, one from Las Vegas and one from Quebec. So all in all, the NHL started small, simple, solidified itself with a core group of teams, and then furthered its success with this expansion era. They haven't had too many flaws, perhaps its greatest one being one season being fully canceled, the only professional league to do that. But since then, they've been on the rise and have solidified itself as one of the top professional leagues in the nation. Thank you. This thing better recorded.